Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here today. Anytime I get a chance to talk about Huntington's disease, it's sort of hard to shut me up. I was born in the United States, in California, USA. I was born in 1924. That was 88 years ago. In a few days, I'll be 89 years old. And I grew up in the United States. I went to school all the way through high school, junior college, and then I went to study nursing at the Queen of Angels Hospital in Los Angeles. I was interned there. Well, Huntington is a neurological illness. It affects the people in a terrible way. It is a very slow progressing illness that will start with symptoms that they don't recognize for a long time. Unless they know they have the gene, they are born with that gene. Every person that has Huntington has been born with these genes, so they don't always know it. We are still ignorant on the fact that we have this illness all around us. And so it's a neurological degenerative illness that will take away all their physical and mental capacities in many years. It's an illness that lasts many, many years. It's a very cruel illness that not only affects the patient, but affects the whole family, because they are all living in this circle of suffering. And if one child inherits the gene, if there are other children, they may inherit it also. Each child has a 50% possibility of inheriting the gene if the father or the mother are ill, or if they have the gene. So it's a very dominating illness that destroys lives, and destroys happiness, and destroys possibilities of futures. It's very cruel. We hate it, but it dominates us still. I will tell you this. This is the worst disease that could possibly exist. Okay, there's SIDA, there's cancer, there's Parkinson, there's Alzheimer's, there's all kinds of horrible diseases. But this thing lasts 15, 20, 25 years. What happens to the family with these sick people? If you abandon them, can you live with the conscience? I could not. Some people do, but I could not. If you don't abandon them, you are there for them 24 hours a day. They get up at the wrong hour, they go to sleep at the wrong hour, they eat at the wrong hour. They eat like, if you know what chickens, when they eat, they throw the dirt around. The food is all over the table, all over the floor. But they don't understand that. They don't know that. They're eating and they're enjoying their food, and they don't know that they're bothering you. You have to pay a great amount of your earnings in their medicine, their treatment, in medical stuff, cuidados. Well, unfortunately, I don't know what it is yet. I haven't decided. I met a doctor from Mexico while I was studying to be a nurse. He went to Mexico, to the United States, to do 2 years of specialization. And it happened that he did it at the hospital where I was studying. So after he finished his 2 years, and I finished my 3.5 years, we were married. We came to Mexico and got married. So that's since 1947. I have lived in Mexico. I was around 23 years old. Since then, I've lived in Mexico, since that time. Okay, after I married my nice Mexican man. You know, he was a very intelligent, brilliant, I'll say it in Spanish because it's a beautiful word. He was simpático. He was very simpático. We had 7 children, and when he was around 50 years old, he began to change his personality. He became very aggressive. He became very confused because something was happening to all this beautiful health that he had always had. He was a very athletic, energetic, full of ideas. Let's do this, let's do that, let's the other. It was a whirlwind life with him. We were living with little money, but with big adventures, you know. He never knew that he had the disease, though, because by the time we got a diagnosis, he was almost 55 or 60 years old. We never got a diagnosis for a long time. So he didn't know what was happening to him. He didn't know that he had Huntington's disease, which is fine. But he lived 22 years ill, and we took care of him for 22 years. And it was very painful to see this man that did exercise every day and climb mountains. He was heroic, and very many times that he would, if we went to Acapulco or Puerto Vallarta or any place we went, if anybody was drowning, which seems to happen very often, he was always the first one to notice, and he would be saving people's lives. He would run off. I said, "What's the matter? Where's he going swimming?" All of a sudden, he didn't even take his pants off, you know. And no, somebody's drowning, and he sees it. He was quick to act, quick. But life just leads you on. And I'm not sorry that I have my children. Not now. They're wonderful. They're wonderful. And I take care of them. My first son that got ill, I took care of him for 18 years because he came home to live with me. And my 2 daughters are very ill, and they have good husbands and children who are taking care of them. And my baby, he's 51 years old now. He's living with me. It's very hard. But we had those marvelous years together. Their youth was filled with adventures. All the other kids, friends, everybody wanted to go where the Dr. Gallardo went with his children. They were climbing mountains, and they were doing all kinds of adventurous things, you know. He was taking friends underground with terrible, terrible risks. And everybody wanted to go with him. His friends were young, his friends were old. People liked to be with him. He was an adventurous person. I didn't like him all the time, because husbands and wives don't like each other all the time. But I wouldn't have left him for anything in the world. We help them as much as we can. For instance, medicines and diapers, and we give them food baskets once a month, which is not enough. Maybe they eat better for 3 days or something like that. But we never charge over 30% of what the medicine costs us. We never charge over 30% for the diapers cost us. We never charge over 30% for whatever we give them, no. We only charge 30 pesos, which is what, $2? $3? No, me. For a basket that costs us almost 100 pesos, so, or más. So we try to help them, but we never have enough to do everything we want to do. and we work at getting money. That's a very important part of the work, to get donations. See? We have been lucky up to now to have enough to exist well, but we could do a lot better, and we're going to try to get a lot better. We have a store. Anybody want to buy anything? We have real nice things.
Un día voy a comprar todo y me voy a poner mi tienda. ¿No? ¿No será buena?
I think I inherited that from my father. He was a very occupied man. He always had 5 things going at the time. Some of them were legal, some were not. But he was a very hardworking man. And I think that it must be inheritance, yes. But yes, I always am doing something, always, always. I can't stop. I think maturity. There comes a time when you have to be responsible for what you're doing. No, it happened to me very young. Actually, it was little by little, you know. But I realized that if I don't do things, they're not going to get done. I lost my mother when I was 15. So, and my father also at the same time. He was very ill. So I found out that I couldn't lie in bed in the morning and go to school at the same time. I found out that I couldn't lie in bed or watch those horrible comedias, the family, what do you call them, tragedies, and get done the things I wanted to do. I found out when some marvelous friend of mine said, "How come you're not smoking?" And I bought my cigarettes and I started smoking. I found out that I couldn't go swimming with a cigarette in my hand. So I threw the cigarette away and I never tried to get that again. That was a mistake, you know. I had to find it out all by myself. And I think that's what we have to do with our children sometimes, so we don't spoil them and we don't make them weaker. We have to let them find out for themselves that they have to make their efforts if they're going to make their success in life. It's very important. I really, really realize now when I see all these homes, well, I'm not supposed to give my political ideas here, am I? But forget that. But I see these children sleeping in cars that are made, beds that are made like cars, and all these marvelous toys all around them. What in the world are they going to fight for when they get older? You know, why were they going to fight? They're going to wait for somebody to hand them their silver platter. I think it's a mistake to give too much. I think if you know, my first toy, it was a little doll of some kind of material that I would sit on the floor where my mother was working on her sewing machine when she had to do with her feet. And this little doll, my mother would give me pieces of material, and I would stick a pin in the doll and pin all her clothes on with lots of little pins. That was my first doll and only doll. And my first car, I made a hole in the ground, deep enough for my feet, and then a seat, and I sat there and drove around every place I went, all over the world, in one little spot. And I had fun. No, I had enjoyed it. I learned, I guess, to be independent. I learned that nobody was going to come around and make me happy and pick me up and coddle me. I think it's a mistake, and I have seen it with others. You get coddled, you get weak, and you don't fight for what you need in life. Well, or work. It's work. What you do is work. Work is a marvelous thing. And this association, I wanted to succeed. Not only, I feel that it has done quite a bit, I wanted to succeed when I'm not here. I want these people to have this. We treat the people, the poorest people in Mexico, you know. Some of them only have breakfast and lunch because they come with us. Some of them don't have anything to feed them, and they don't have food. Some of them are not so poor, but the majority are miserably, miserably poor. I feel now that I'm failing. I feel now that I have still too much to do to really get this stable enough to where it lasts longer. I have some marvelous people working and marvelous people interested, but I always feel that we need a little more union between us. So what I'm doing, somebody else will just take over, sacrifice their lives for it. I really don't know. I don't know anything anymore. The misery that we see is almost intolerable. It's hard not to cry with them all the time. That's what's hard. You don't want to let anybody see you crying because you don't want them to realize that they're suffering so much, you know? That's the way I treat my family also. I don't let them, come on, let's go walking, or come on, let's do this, or come on, let's do that. I don't let them think that anybody's feeling sorry for them, you know, that they have to face up and do their things just as if they weren't sick. It's okay. And then we have the good luck of that after so many years of being sick, they lose that notion that they're sick, you know? They lose it. So they don't know they're sick. You want to kick them in the ass, you want to kick them, but they don't know they're sick anymore, you know? They get pesados, so they do so many things wrong, but they don't know they're sick anymore. They're not suffering. You're the one that's living your life for somebody else. And that's what's happening when they get older, you know? That's what happens when they get with years. I'm very happy to be able to talk to you. I just hope that this goes into somebody else's heart, you know? We could trade hearts if anybody wants to. So I would just wish that people would take an interest in Huntington's disease, because you don't know tomorrow if you fall in love with somebody with Huntington's disease.